Recording life, eh? Don't want to touch anything.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Awesome. So we're going to give a little bit of context about you. I know you worked for quite a while in the car industry.
Yep.
So actually my first question was why the used car market here in the Okanagan is absolutely nuts. I mean, was absolutely nuts during the pandemic and like I was seeing like piece of shit of cars and trucks for like crazy prices, like 15, 20 grand. I mean, not piece of shit, but like super old cars.
Yeah.
I mean,
know.
super old, but at a crazy prices.
It's just supply and demand. That's what it comes down to with so many different things. Like it was the chips, right? They weren't making those chips anymore, which is the actual membrane of the vehicle, whether it was like Toyota, Volkswagen, Kia, it doesn't matter. They just weren't making the chips. So there was no new inventory. So if somebody needs to buy a vehicle and they can't buy new, they have to buy used, supply and demand. Yeah. I always say, I used to make jokes of like, it's like the toilet paper thing that went on when we had a shortage. Yeah. They were selling it for like 15 or 20 bucks for like 12 rolls, right? And then people were like slanging it on the sidewalks, on the streets, right? Like, get your toilet paper here. It's supply and demand, right? Yeah. That's the world we live in. So I always suggested to people, I've always been just an honest car saleswoman, authentic, and just being like, hey, right now is not the time to buy, and just being honest. If you can hold off, do it. But if not, then I will find you the best price for the kilometers, features, reliability, and fuel economy, which was another huge factor, right? Yeah. People were wanting in a panic to get into any type of vehicle than the one they were in, whether they were driving a truck or an SUV, because the gas prices were almost $2, right?
Right.
So
True.
there were so many different factors, and yeah, now it's kind of started to taper down a bit, which is good. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah.
So how did you first get into that? Was it your longest work you've done, your longest career so far?
So I would have to say I got into the hotel industry first. So I just really liked working with people in general. I'm a people person. And it was super weird, but I had my son. This was in 2014. And I was working at the front desk at the Vernon Lodge, so the Best Western in town. And I was like, how am I ever going to survive or save or do anything making $13 an hour? Yeah. Like I was like already struggling. I was a single mom. Like rent wasn't even what it is now, but it was hard to make it by. And I was like, I feel like I could do something more. And I ended up going to purchase a vehicle from Kia, which was funny. And I kind of seen the vibe in there and just how the salesmen were. And I was like, I could do this. No problem. And actually the craziest part is I put it on my vision board. I was like, I want to be a car saleswoman. I wanted to do it. And I've had a vision board for, I want to say probably 15 years.
Oh, cool. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we totally will. Yeah, we'll dive deep. But yeah, I was just like, I want to do that. I want to make a living. I want my son to have a good life. And, you know, it wasn't just all about money, but it was just about having freedom and just being happy. And if I was going to raise this boy on my own, I needed to make sure that I could take care of him. Yeah. Financially, right? That's a huge thing. So, and save and have a savings and buy a house and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I just, a few months went by and there was this girl that got a job there that used to work at the lodge. And I was like, if she could do it, I could do it. Like, no problem. And then I still didn't apply. And I had already purchased the car there. And then she came back to the Vernon Lodge and she's like, yeah, it didn't work out at Kia. I don't know. It just wasn't for me. And I was like, they're hiring then. If she's not working there, they're hiring. I'm going to go do it. So I like finally got up the courage. And I talked to one of the ladies there. Her name's Dion, which is still one of my really, really good friends. And she was like, yeah, we're not really hiring, but who's looking for a job? I'm like, me. She's like, oh, okay. I'll tell the general manager, who was Kevin at the time. And I applied. I went in for an interview and he obviously really liked me and I was like vibrant and had personality and stuff. And he was like, are you ready to make nothing? And I was like, what? He's like, well, it's all commission. Like, you could come in here and sell nothing and make nothing. And I was like, but I knew in the back of my head, like, there was just something that was just pulling me towards doing it, that I was like, yep, I'm ready to make nothing. I was like, what the hell are you even talking about? Like, what? But it was just something that was just drawing me to do it, right? So, and then he's like, do you know how to drive standard? I'm like, yeah. I've like literally tried once on the farm in like Lumbee. Okay, more than once. But I was like, okay, let's do it. But something just kept drawing me towards it. It was so weird. It was just super heightened intuition. So yeah, I applied, got the job. He's like, yep, you can start right away. I'm like, okay, well, I have to put in my notice and everything. And I remember the 2 weeks up to leading to starting my first day, he was like, study this book. And it was all the product knowledge. And I read that thing like a fucking Bible. Like, I was just like, every night, I'm like, okay, Sorento, LX Plus, Kia, Sportage, this and that, like, studied it. So by the time I went in there, when we actually sat down to do what was like the product knowledge test in the morning, I was the girl that showed up. And all these guys are like, who's this? They knew I'd bought a car there, but they're like, they didn't even know I got hired. They're like, what the hell? I show up there and we did a round robin of product knowledge, and I was just like, was right in there. I'm like, yeah, heated seats, comes with backup camera, 18-inch tires, and they're all like, what the heck? And it was just from that point on, I was like, yeah, this is exactly why I'm supposed to be here. And I sold my first car within 3 days of working there, and then I sold my second car within the first week. And then I think my first month I worked there, I sold 6 cars, which was very... And I was completely green. Like, I didn't even know the meaning of horsepower. I'm like, hire me, please. Like, let's do this. It was crazy. And then I ended up being, and this is not to toot my own horn or anything, but I ended up being like car sales woman of the month, like every month. Was on the radio. I had a huge network. I still have a huge network because I'm born and raised in the Okanagan. And yeah, it was really cool how it all kind of panned out. And yeah, it built a lot of strength and power within me too, because I went out of my comfort zone and did something that I probably wouldn't have done in the past, like a long time ago. Like, there was a lot of self-doubt I had about myself, but it was all about intuition. So it's just having that intuitive feeling of being like, okay, something's pulling me and forcing me to go in this direction. And I'm happy I did. You know, it was a huge thing. And everybody, like, I feel like everyone in Lumbee be like, pretty sure you sold half of Lumbee a car or a truck or something, right? And it was like, it was just cool. And just everyone knew that they could reach out to me about questions, or I had friends from Vancouver and Edmonton that would fly all the way down here or road trip down here just to buy a car off me because they knew I would take care of them. And I wasn't like the slicked hair back greasy car salesman or anything. It was just authentic, and I wanted to take care of people and make it a good experience, because sometimes car buying, it's not fun for a lot of people, but I made it fun. You know what I mean? So
it's cool that you had a confirmation that it was good for you very soon, right? Because sometimes when you took a leap of faith on something, and if like from the first weeks and stuff, you already were feeling good and like you were already selling and already feeling like it was for you. Like, it's cool when you have a quick confirmation in actual, like, in reality. Of a leap of faith that you took and risk you're taking, because especially going on knowing that if you don't sell, you don't make
100%. I was like,
which is which is a different. It's like realtors, right? It's a different type of work. You're not a real employee. You're just like making money on commission on the actual sales you do. It's a very different dynamic of day-to-day work. Right, like when you what you make is directly depending on the actual sales that you make. It's a total different life.
100%
than when you have
I learned a lot. And it was just like having that faith, and like the hugest part about it too is not only just taking the leap of faith, but finding comfort and being uncomfortable. Like, it was so uncomfortable a lot of times because like I was in a man's world. I had lots of people coming on the lot that would like test me and be like, because it's not really a woman's industry, right? So that was a whole other thing that I had to really evolve from as well, right? So
Did you feel that a lot? Like that because you were a woman, like people were
oh fuck yeah.
different, yeah.
Oh yeah, big time. Even the guys were I mean, I loved all of them that I worked with, and it gave me a backbone and grit working in that industry, and I gained a lot of respect because I was good, and I still am good at it. And that was the hugest part about it, is that respect. I didn't just come in there and lollygag. Like, I actually came in there and did the work, and I knew my shit, and I worked really, really hard. And I was a single parent, so there was a lot of power within that.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
Did you feel like overall, did you feel like did you feel like sometimes it was easier and sometimes harder? Because like if it's a men industry and you're a woman, like you have to work harder to like stand out. And everything.
Stand out.
Did you feel like sometimes it was easier because like a woman approach is often like different also. Especially when you're gonna sell things, like it's more on the emotional. You were saying that you're a people person, so maybe you have like that aspect that was different from other guys. They were maybe more like a classic salesman and colder approach.
Totally.
Maybe you had like more of a human approach. That's
yeah,
part of
and I found that a lot of people actually kind of let their guard down with me too. I would like to call myself a chameleon. So I adapt to people, surroundings, situations, and it's totally authentic. Like, I'm not even just adapting because I'm forced to. It's just something natural that comes to me. So it didn't matter if it was the old lady coming in for, a $5,000 car. It didn't matter if it was the old man or if it was the young family or the single mom or the single dad. I always had something to relate to them with, and it was just about making it fun. So that just came natural. So I find that was the easiest part about it. The hardest part was going with the flow of how seasonal the Okanagan is.
Yeah.
Everything tends to go to sleep and really shut down in November. Starting in September and October. As soon as the sun kind of goes away, everyone's just kind of hides in their homes and hermits, right? So it would be some chilly and cold months through the winter, so there wouldn't be a lot going on. But it made me save money through the summer, so you can kind of bear those winter months, because the only reason why someone was coming in and buying a car is because they wrote it off, got in a car accident, or they're getting a Christmas present, right? That was kind of what it was like. So I found that was the hardest part. And another thing that I really found that was hard, but when something's hard and you figure out the tools and the formula to make it easier, that is power. Do you know what I mean? So within it being hard to kind of get through those few months, I also realized that I had to be mentally in check as well, right? So for instance, the starting of the month, let's say it would be slow and you wouldn't have any deals, and you're like, okay, I need to sell some cars in order to make money to like pay for life. Yeah. You had to get off that mental wavelength of, oh, the month's almost over. I'm not going to get any sales. Oh, no one's calling. No one's showing up. No one's walking on the lot. And then you start to get in this mentality of like, what's the use? Oh, you know what I mean? But I'd be like, nope. Nope, someone's going to come up. Someone's going to message me. And it was like getting yourself out of that mental rut and then just knowing, nope, I know it's all going to work out. Someone's going to come up. They're going to message me on Facebook. They're going to message me on Instagram. They're going to be like, Coral, I need a car. Someone's going to walk up on the lot. And it would even get to the point, and some of the guys at work would be like, Coral, you're so weird. I'd like have these like little crystals at work, and they'd be like, one was like for abundance and one was for this and one was for that, and I'd like rub them, and they're like, oh, she's rubbing her crystals again. I'm like, they gave me good juju. I'm like, you got to believe in something, right? Yeah. But anyways, I would like rub them, and then someone would come out on the lot, and then I'd be like, Kate, go, and I'd sell them a car. And they were like, my boss is like, what? And he does not believe in that stuff at all. He's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm still friends with him to this day. It's Kevin Marotta. And still to this day, we laugh about those moments because like, that's just kept that mentality going.
Yeah.
Right. So what I meant by it was so hard at the starting to go with the flow of seasonal work and knowing that the summer and spring would always be booming and then winter was slow, but it was just having that hope and keep that drive up and keep that momentum up. Right. So that's what I learned within that. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah. So what else were you doing to keep that hope? Like, was it just like a mental thing, or were you doing like all the things? Like, what were your, was it really just like,
affirmations, huge, crystal rubbing. And I was really into meditation at the time as well, as meditating every morning. And then just staying positive, just like knowing, like just paying attention to what you're thinking about and just really trying to switch it up. It's pretty much positive thinking, but more in depth. Like we can say that all we want, but like, what do you do to change your thoughts to positive when you have a negative thought? What gives yourself hope? You know what I mean? And then taking action too, right? Making phone calls, network marketing, talking to people, posting stuff, just getting really involved. And I found that was kind of the whole kit caboodle in there. And just like, just having faith too, right? It's a pie, right? I always look at it as like a pie, and like there's just different pieces to it that kind of make the whole pie. You know what I mean? So there's a bunch of different tools I use to stay on track.
Positive thinking is so important. Right?
It is,
one of the key for sure.
100%. I know a lot of people are like, think positive, and they're just like, oh my God. But it's more than just thinking positive. It's also about doing positive as well.
Yeah.
Right.
And like the meditation, because what's good with meditation is that you're able to start observing what's happening in your mind, in your head, and you start being able to discerning. This is why meditation was probably a big part for you as well.
100%.
Because the people who have no control or they're not like watching what's happening. When you don't meditate at all and you don't have like that much of a self-talk going on,
mental awareness,
it's very hard when you say to somebody that there's no awareness on that, like it's just about positive thinking or do a positive thinking, it's hard to understand, but you have to first being able to observe what's going on in your mind, and observe these emotions and thoughts, and then be able to
navigate it.
But
it's a formula. It's a formula.
Yeah.
And it was kind of new to me. I was on a huge journey when I got hired at Kia in 2015, and it's just gotten more and more powerful in a sense. But that's basically when I started kind of getting into meditation and stuff. And actually what got me into meditation, this is crazy, was Studio B.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I started going to their Pilates classes and yoga. And I was like, I feel so good. Like, what the heck? So I started looking at meditation and got a little app, the Calm app and Insight Timer, and started doing it from there. And now I'm just hooked. I 100%, like, I don't go a day without meditating. I do it every single morning, sometimes even midday or in the evening.
Cool.
So it was just a little sprinkle of it back then, but it just got more and more strong. So huge believer in that.
Nice. Do you have any specific protocol that you do, or is it like a specific time? Do you have like breath work in it? Do you do any, or do you follow like what type of meditation do you do?
Yeah, I love guided. If anyone that knows me, I am a high strung person. Like I'm just like always on, right? Of course, there's times where I'm like chill. Sometimes, but I need to be guided within that. Like I can sit and meditate on my own, no problem, but I like to be guided. I like to be like shown. So I go on Insight Timer. That is my favorite app. It's free. You can donate to any of the teachers on there. But I meditate every single morning. I'm an early bird. I'm up at 4:30 in the morning. I do my meditation, drink water, take pre-workout, and then I head to the gym. So that's kind of my routine. And then midday, if I'm needing to, I'll do a little meditation, breath work, or just like internalize something, like just sit there and just kind of shut my eyes and walk myself through whatever I'm feeling at the time. Never used to be like that, but definitely more power within that now. And then sometimes I'll even meditate in the evening. It's just when I know I need it. But the one I'm religious about is the morning time, the 4:30 a.m. Yeah, at least 10 or 15 minutes in the morning.
Cool.
Yeah.
So from being in the car industry to where you at now, what kind of personal like story or transformation you experienced yourself that made you want to then help others and then get into the rapid transformational therapy?
Yeah.
Because was it linked to you were selling cars and that was your thing? Did you feel like this was also how to say that? Did you feel like this was having any sort of impact on your life from a negative point, but like the stress that is associated to that type of lifestyle? Like, what was it?
Like with car sales?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it definitely is stressful. As much as I was able to provide for my kid and I made good money, I was there a lot.
Yeah.
Like, of course you had your Sundays off and your one day through the week, and I was blessed to have Sunday, Mondays off. But like there was a lot of the times where I would have to go and pick up my son at after school care and take him back to the dealership because I had a delivery or I had something else to do. Working every Saturday, always having to provide care for him on Saturdays. And and definitely when you're in the car industry, like this is just the way it is. And maybe someone might disagree with me, but you drink. You do. It's a high stress job, especially working in the finance kind of area, which I was taught by Dion like this last like year and a half, probably about 2 years now. And that's high stress as well. So it's I loved it, but I was like, okay, I know there's something more I need to be doing. Like there's just something else. I always ask people if they feel this because I guess maybe I'm just really in tune with myself, but I was like, there's something else I need to be doing. There's something more. And I literally just like asked the universe. I was like, yeah, call me crazy, but like sometimes I look up in the sky and I'm like, okay, what is it? Tell me. Show me the way.
Yeah.
I'm listening. I'm watching. You know what I mean? Or maybe you don't know what I mean.
No, I know exactly what you mean.
I'm super into that kind of stuff.
I won't call you crazy at all because I mean, yeah.
Like you're connected to source. Yeah.
Oh, no,
I noticed the 1111 tattoo on your wrist. So I'm like, yeah, represent.
Yeah, you can go all over that, the universe and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. So I was like, okay, what is it? What do I need to be doing here? And something just kept telling me, you need to share your story and you need to help other people. Not even help. I don't even like using that word. You need to be of service to other people. And I was like, okay, well, like with what? And I felt like I was always of service to people already because a lot of my network in car sales was like a lot of single parents, people getting out of bankruptcy, people going through hard times, going through divorces, single moms, single dads. It didn't matter, right? And they always would talk to me. Like we'd go on a test drive. I couldn't even think of the word. And they would just vent to me and just talk to me. And I loved listening to them. It was like I could hold space for them, no problem. And I just would connect to them on such a different level. And then next thing you know, they're walking out of there with a car and they're like, thank you so much. And I gained friendships and I've met family through that. People that I've sold a car to that became family. So it was like, I felt that I was always of service to people already, but I knew there was something more. So again, I asked the universe, and one day this little link kind of popped up, like a little ad popped up on my phone, and it was like Rapid Transformational Therapy. And I was like, huh. So I clicked into it and I was like, geez, this looks really, really cool, and read up on the lady who created it. And she'd been a therapist for 35 years. She had realized that the same people were just coming into her each week, each month, same issues, same problems, but she would just kind of, nurture them, lift them up, whatever they needed. They would use the tools, but they were always still coming back. Like nothing was ever actually fully transforming in their life. So I read up a lot about her and like what she did, what her background was, right? And I was like, this is really cool. And so I looked into it further, and just how many lives it was changing, looking up reviews. I was like, wow, this stuff is really neat. Like, and basically it's getting to the root cause of whether it's anxiety or body dysmorphia or smoking, vaping, self-sabotage, procrastination. Like it all comes from a root. It stems from something, whether it was in your childhood, whether it was in your adult years, it doesn't matter. And I was like, this is so cool. So I was like, okay, I'm going to put this on the back burner. Okay, cool. But then it became more prominent. Like there was many different signs, more ads that were popping up. And of course, when you click on an ad, there's more ads that pop up, right? But then I like heard someone talking about it one day. And I was like, huh, that's weird. And then it just kept being more and more prominent. And then I got an email. And I was like, what the heck? This is weird. I never signed up for anything. I didn't put my email in. It was just this random email. And I was like, why would I get this email? So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to apply for it and see. So I applied for it. I set up like this conference call. And this was 2 years ago. I set up this conference call, and this guy called me and he's like, yeah, no. I was like, yeah, I've been thinking about taking this course, possibly, maybe. And he's like, oh, well, you have to get accepted onto it. And I was like, oh, okay. So he's like, yeah, I'm going to ask you like a series of questions. And they ask you some pretty uncomfortable stuff, like how you grew up, what you do for work now. Why do you feel that you could be of service to others or help others? Like, have you been to therapy? Have you done this? And I like pretty much like verbal diarrhea in my story. I'm like, you got an hour? He's like, yep, I do this all day. I'm like, okay, let's fucking go. So I told him my story of like how I grew up, just all this other stuff. And he was like, okay, we're going to call you back for a second interview. I was like, okay. So they call me back and they're like, yeah, you got accepted onto the course. It's X amount of dollars, yada, yada, yada. And then I just got totally scared. I was like, oh my God. Okay, I'll call you back on Monday and let you know. Never called me back. And I was like, I was scared. I was like, I don't know. Yeah. But then the signs became more prominent and more prominent. And just like,
what were you scared of? Jumping into something new?
Yes.
Because you needed to stop working to do this, or?
Yes, I was scared. It's self-doubt. It's like, how could I ever be that? It's that imposter syndrome, which I feel like a lot of the population has, which is really tough. And it's this belief, and it's this limiting belief that someone's already doing it. Someone's already doing it better. What makes you think that you can do it? You know what I mean? And it's just like, and it was just scared. It was just weird. And maybe it was timing, I don't know. But the signs just kept getting more prominent. And I remember I like went to, met up with a girlfriend of mine, and it was actually for a photo shoot. She's now my friend, but at the time she was just my photographer. And I showed up and we're chit-chatting, and I'm like, she's like, yeah, yada, yada, yada. My friend who's from Edmonton, he's an RTT therapist. He loves it. And it was just a random conversation. I was like, what? And then I was like, okay. Like, how many more times do I need to hear this? Yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm listening to you. So I ended up calling back the guy, and he was like, yep, it's been now a couple months since we had talked, so we just have to go through the process again. And I got accepted onto the course, and it was like quite a bit of money, US, like conversion.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's not bad. He's like, US. I'm like,
yeah, that's
twitching.
a little more.
I'm like, oh, okay, shit. Okay. But anyways, so I'm like, Kate, we're doing this. And I literally got the course, bought it, and was working full time at the dealership.
Mm-hmm.
So 5-6 days a week, raising a child, waking up for the gym every day, still enjoying my life, still going out for dinner, enjoying time with friends, still going camping with Darius, all this other stuff. We adopted a dog in that process. And I was literally full time in this course. I was waking up, because it's out of the United Kingdom, and they're all online live classes.
Oh.
I was waking up at 1:30 in the morning.
Oh, shit.
And sitting there with my coffee on the couch, going into class till 6:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And then
so
I would
the whole night. What time were you? When were you sleeping then?
I was going to bed at like 7.
Okay.
Yeah. I would literally put Darius to bed and then I would go to bed after and then wake up at 1:30. Yeah.
Wow.
And then do that. And then I'd be like, okay. And then when I didn't have Darius, I'd be like, okay, now I'm going to go to the gym or go to Pilates or whatever I'm doing. And like would go like, and then I'd work all day and then I'd come back and study. Like it was just like, so that's why like now what taught me within that is how everyone, including myself, I don't have time. I don't have enough time to do this. We have lots of time because I'm like, if I could do that, work full time, go to school, raise a child, go to the gym, do all these other things, you have lots of time. We have lots of time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just what do you
sure.
use? What are you doing with it, right?
100%.
So yeah, I just went hard on that. And
For a year? Was it a year?
yeah, it was over a year. Yeah, it was over a year. And just went hard on that and just, yeah, and I was at the top of my class. Like it was, and I understood all of the material. Yeah. Like it was like talking about like emotions and just everything to do with like, and I'm that person that's like, I don't even really watch TV or anything. At night, I'm either reading about like self-help books or psychology. Like I'm actually obsessed with that kind of stuff. So a lot of the stuff I already knew. Yeah. And I would like just study it constantly and like looking up sites on Psychology Today and just understanding the human brain and how it works. And so when I went into this course, I was like, I was ready 100%. And yeah, I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't tell anybody about it. I didn't tell anyone. I told a couple of my best friends and stuff, but I didn't tell anyone at work about it. Yeah. Of course, my son knew. And yeah, I just hustled in silence. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm still going to work at the dealership and I'm just going to do this on the side. And then this was now go retroactive to November. My dad ended up having a heart attack. So I was forced to leave the car industry. He needed someone to take care of him. He's like one of these guys that kind of like lives off grid. Yeah. Really weird dynamic. But he lives off grid, totally like anti-government, anti this, anti that, had a heart attack. I'm like, well, I got to take care of him, right? Yeah. So they had laid me off, which was great for me to take care of him. So I got some coverage there for being a caregiver to him. And then the last month of November, like the last little bit of November and December, I just went hard on my course. Just went boom, 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 banged it out. And then next thing you know, once I was done it, I was like, I had written on my my vision board, oh, I want an office on 30th. I want to make this much money. I want to have this many clients per week. I want to have a successful podcast. I want to do this. I want to be on a podcast. Huh? What? I know. So, and like all these things, like I wish I would have brought it so I could just show you. Like it's just so crazy. Like I don't know if you have a vision board or not.
I've never done. I know people who do, and I've heard of it.
It's powerful.
But I've never done one. But yeah, I know that like in the the spiritual realm, like there's a lot of people that are talking about manifestation.
Yeah.
And but to get into this, you need a certain amount of like belief into the fact that we are, you're literally creating your own reality.
100%.
What is reality? What is, what is consciousness, and how by putting things in front of you, you can reprogram yourself to actually. This is why I was like, positive thinking is so important, because it literally how it's gonna shape the things you're gonna see and how you experience the same 100%. Thing. And somebody that's negative, literally gonna experience the same thing that's gonna happen in his life. That somebody that is positive thinking, and the one with the positive thought will have a better experience for the same event. But the vision board, tell me about that. So you just literally build a board where you put everything that you
and
want
then
on
anytime I accomplish anything, I literally will take a picture of it and I'll take it off the board. I'm like, okay, well, that's accomplished. Like next, like I've been doing it for 15 years, which is a whole other story of how I got created, like how I got started on that.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I had this like list of what I was gonna do, and the next thing you know, end of November, beginning of December, boom, I was on Marketplace, saw that they had an office space available. Didn't say the amount, had no pictures, nothing. But I was like, that's kind of cool. Messaged the person, didn't get back to me. Finally, they did. Passed me on to another person with a phone number, called him, no answer. I'm like, whatever, like, it's fine. He called me back. He goes, hey, yeah, it's available. Okay, great. But this lady might take it. So it's not fully available because this lady might take it. I was like, okay. He's like, but if you want, you can go check it out. And if she doesn't take it, you can have it. I was like, okay. So he told me the address and I was like, fuck, that's right on 30th. I was like, okay, let's go. So I go, it's right by the town theater. This is where we are right now, which is crazy. And then he buzzed me into the building. He's like, and he wasn't there. He buzzed me in right through his phone. It's all connected. He's like, yep, top of the stairs, doors open, unit 207. I was like, 207 pops up a lot for me, which is, again, here I am getting all spiritual and woo woo. 7 + 2 is 9, which is like a huge number that has been just like prominent in my life. So I walk up the stairs and I'm like, this is my office. This is where it's going to happen. I already knew. And I was like, it was just like the deepest knowing. And I was like, okay. I walk in. I'm like, fuck, it looks like shit in here. The walls were like green and there was this weird furniture and this weird like dusty smell. And it just smelled like old in here. And I was like, this is my office. And I didn't even care. I walked in, I completely had a vision and I was like, yep, this is it. And I started crying. And I was like, this is it. So I call him and I'm like, I love it. I fucking love it. And he's like, perfect. I'll let you know if it's available. I'm like, okay, cool. I didn't even ask him how much. I was like, it was so weird. And it was so funny because on my vision board, I had put, I want to find an office on 30th, $1,000 or less. That's what I said. That's what I wrote on there. It was not too specific, but because when you get too specific, you can get kind of disappointed sometimes, right? But yeah. And then he literally called me back hours later. He's like, yeah, no, she's not going to take it. She's going to be taking a different office. You want it? Yep, I do. How much? $600, everything included. Okay. Yeah, you can paint, do whatever you want. I don't care. Just don't break down any walls. Super cool guy. Awesome. Yeah, and he goes, and I'm not going to charge you rent till February. I said, why? He goes, I don't know. Don't worry about it. And it was funny because when I had told him I was coming to view it, I had mentioned a couple things like, okay, I'll be there in a bit. I just have to go pick up my son from school and something like that. So I think he kind of got this vibe that maybe I was a single mom or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. But he was like, he just was like, don't have to worry about anything. Just pay me in February. Deposits this much, rents this much. Good to go. And I was like, holy shit. So then things just started to speed up from there, right? It was like, okay, now we're painting. I have a buddy that is a painter. He's like, yep, you can go get paint from here, use my discount, na 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 na. He came in and helped me do a little bit. My son was in here helping me paint. My buddy Christian was in here doing like all my woodwork, all my caulking on the bottom, all the baseboards, all the wood. I had my girlfriend Aggie coming in here and like helping me design it. I had people helping me move furniture into here. Everyone just came together for me. And the biggest thing is my girlfriend Alicia. She's a graphic designer. She's been one of my best friends for a very, very long time. I've known her for like 20 years. She did my cards, my logo, my website, everything. And I was like, just everybody came together for me. It was just, I didn't have to pay them. They just wanted to support me. And I thought that was the most beautiful, like it makes me want to cry. I just thought that was the most beautiful thing about it all, is that like when I sit in here and like think about this space, like I was making this space so I could be of service to others and like help people live a better life. And then that's what the people in my life were also doing too. So it was like just this flow of just positivity that was like, we're going to help you. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And it just kept going, and it just keeps going. And it's like everybody that comes in here is like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. Because it's not like your regular counseling or therapy place where it's like this kind of straight edge office and you kind of feel awkward and weird. And like here it's like flowy and just like calm, and like you just feel good and at home. And I always have some nice music playing in the background. And it's just like this place and this space is magical for me. And it's been, it was really cool how it all happened. And then, and then I just didn't end up going back to car sales because I've been so busy doing this. And I get more time with my kid. I get to pick him up. I get to drop him off. You know what I mean? It's just, I'm super abundant right now in so many different ways.
It's nice to see when everything flows right. I was going to say effortlessly, but this is how it's supposed to be when you're doing the right thing.
100%.
And it's nice to see that kind of experience where you're like literally asking out, like, what do I need to do? You get this sign, you put the work in, you did like a year, like doing like crazy things, like the nights. We're doing the night course and stuff like that. And then you're rewarded with like a flow of things when everything like flows and it makes sense. You don't have to like force things to make them happen, and everything just
100%, because that's so much like that's resistance, right? Like when we have so much resistance in our life, whether it's like at our job or in our relationship or like our home life or our environment, and there's so much resistance. It's like, stop trying to swim up the river. Like, where are you even going? Turn around, start going with the flow with it. And it's going to be uncomfortable and it's going to be fucking scary. But just trust the process. It's all about trusting the process and trusting your gut. Huge. And don't get me wrong, there was like little hurdles that I like came across when I was
for sure
on my way. There's always going to be, but then I just reacted to them like, oh, that's small, whatever, we'll figure that out. Okay, keep going. You know what I mean? So it's just like, you're gonna have little things that kind of get in the way sometimes, but I wouldn't have called them resistance. I would just little hurdles and just react accordingly, right? So totally. But it's been a journey. It's been amazing. Love it.
Cool. So what made you want to? So you said you're a lot into like psychology, you're a people person. Where do you think like that comes from? Is there like things in your past that like you experienced that make you want now to help? Because you said you want to be at service of the people. You kind of were by selling cars, but it wasn't like as profound and maybe as emotional as you wanted it to be. Like what is the part of you? Where comes the part of you that wants to
give
service
back
other at a more human level? I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, Do you want the long version or the short version? I'll give you
the good.
the long story short.
You can go. You can go.
I'm just joking. So yeah, like growing up as a kid, that's kind of where I'll start. Was really hard. Yeah, I at the starting when I was really young, we were really like well-off family, like super. We were wealthy, I would have to say. My dad owned his own company. My mom worked with like the mentally handicapped, so she was like kind of like a care aide, but it was a little bit different back then. And we had a huge piece of property, and like life was good. Actually, I'll say this now because it's legal. And also my dad grew pot when it was highly illegal as well. Sorry, Dad. He doesn't give a shit. Yeah. But so yeah, like we were pretty well off. Like we were, we had a nice property out in Lumbee, and I would have to say like my brother and I, Quentin, we were pretty spoiled in a comfortable way. And my parents got into drugs. And that's when everything really started to change. And it was partying. It was heavy stuff. So, and I remember like starting to notice like changes within them, and like always being dropped off at like sitters' houses, or them always like kind of hiding in the room and just not being present. And it just started getting worse and worse until they split up. And my dad had moved away, and then my mom was, I guess, a single parent.
How old were you at that point?
I was 11.
Okay,
yeah, but it was years leading up to that. Yeah, so, and my dad was physically and mentally abusive too, like, which I'm okay to talk about now. Before I wasn't okay to talk about it because I felt a lot of like shame and guilt around it. But he was very like, very physically and mentally abusive. And so so we started living with my mom and my nana, my brother and I. He's 7 years younger than me. So, and then my mom really took a turn for the worse. So she would be like missing for days at a time. We would be like getting evicted from our homes, and we wouldn't have a lot of food in the fridge. Like it was really, really bad. So I had to really step up in a lot of ways and like, get my brother ready for school, pack his lunch, that kind of stuff. And I love my mom. Me and her have the best relationship now, and she's clean, and she's really cleaned up her life. But we went through a lot of hell, a lot of neglect. She wasn't there. She couldn't even be there for us mentally. Yeah, so it was tough. There was a lot of hard times, Christmases, it was just, she was always like worried about money. We lived in poverty. She was on welfare. I remember being super embarrassed even getting like driven to school in the vehicle that she was driving. Like I was just super embarrassed all the time, and just like, and when she was present and there, like she was in and out of rehab as well, but when she was present and she was there, she's very loving, most loving and beautiful lady, just a very, very, very sick lady as well. Right. So, and it's interesting too, because it's like she didn't have the best upbringing growing up as a kid as well, right? So she was in boarding schools. She went through a really tough time as well. She was molested as a child. There was a lot, and it was just like hurt coming from her mom, going to her, and then now it was being passed on to me, and that's the whole thing of totally and ancestral, right? It's. So yeah, it was tough to see. Like I moved out when I was 15, and my brother was super upset that I moved out because I was like that little thread that was like holding mom together in a sense, but I couldn't handle it anymore. I was so sick of it. She'd go missing for like 3 days, and we would just be at home. I wouldn't know where she was, couldn't get a hold of her. Like I went through so much Like, I remember I can still even hear her answering machine, like calling it so many times and leaving her messages like, Mom, please come home, all this other stuff. And like, luckily my Nana was around. She lived like in a suite below us at one point, and then she lived with us as well. But like, there was only so much that she could do as well. And yeah, I was just so sick of it. And then like, I started getting into alcohol. I started partying and doing drugs as well, right? Because it was like, that's how I was like numbing what was happening. It was happening to me, like you said, the generational trauma, right? So, and then I started getting into trouble as a kid, and I dropped out of school and moved to Vancouver at 15 years old, and just like scared myself straight. Came back home, even though I knew it was dysfunctional there, I still wanted to just be at home, because I really did scare myself when I moved down to Vancouver. I got mixed up into some different stuff. But when I came back home, I wanted to go back into high school and be with all my friends. And they're like, no, you can't. You dropped out in grade 9, and now you're like a year and a half behind. If you want to be let into grade 12, you have to like do, I think it was like 16 courses. And I was like, oh, so they're like, yeah. I was like, oh my God, I really fucked this up. So I ended up going into, I think it was Crossroads. Yeah, it was Crossroads in Lumbee. And there is a lady that helped me there. Her name's Linda. She actually passed away, I think it was in 2010 or 11. Loved her so much. She literally helped me. She was like, Kate, we're going to get all these courses done. You're going to get into grade 12. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. And it was so crazy, because that was during the time I started like getting into vision boards and stuff. And I put on there me graduating in 2009 with all my friends. And I worked so hard day in and day out. Like, I like quit like going out with friends. I like just everything was all about school. That's all I did. And I passed the whole 16 courses, and I got let into my grade 12 year, and I got to graduate with everybody. And I passed with honors and scholarships. And I was super, super proud of myself. And then kind of during high school and after, I got involved with like not so healthy boyfriends, and like getting back into the party scene and, you know, doing drugs, drinking, all that kind of stuff. Right. So, I just kind of went through so many different kind of like
cycles.
Yeah. Cycles. And then just like really accomplishing something, like, and then falling back into another cycle. Right. So, I definitely struggled a lot with like, just like the imposter syndrome and like self-doubt, and it was like going out and having fun and getting drunk and rowdy and blacking out was normal.
Yeah.
That was normal, and I was good at it. So I just kept doing it. Yeah. Right. And yeah, I could still maintain a job and do this and do that, but it was just became normal. Right. So
what were you working in what the hotel industry at that point already?
No, I was actually managing a little pizza shop in Lumbee. Oh. Yeah, so that was fun. I did like a culinary arts program right out of high school up into my level 2. So that was what I did for like college, which was really cool. I wanted to be a professional cook and Red Seal chef. Sorry, not a professional cook. You know what I mean? And so I did that, and then again dropped out. I like dropped out of that because I was like, nope, this is not what I want to do. Like, I'd rather go do this and have fun and whatever else. And then after that, it was in 2010, and I was living in Lumbee, and like I had broken up with this guy who was like super, super abusive. But anyways, I split up with him, and I said to my best friend, who's still my really, really good friend, Dave Cossey, and I was like, do you want to move to Kelowna? He's like, yeah, sure. I'm like, okay, let's move in there. Like, let's move like January, like have a fresh start. He's like, okay, let's fucking do it. So I'm like, sweet. So we went and looked for a house there for a couple months, found it, move there. His girlfriend moved with us too, she's a friend of mine as well. And we moved down to Kelowna and we're like, okay. Then I was like, okay, start applying for jobs, doing this, doing that. And I got hired at Lake Okanagan Resort. So that's where I started getting into the hotel industry. And it was funny because I was a room attendant there first. And then they were like, we could really use you at the front desk. Like, we think you'd be really great at the front desk. I'm like, sweet, I don't want to scrub toilets anymore. Let's fucking go. Like, yay, right? Like, they're like, you're way too like pretty to be like scrubbing toilets and stuff. I'm like, oh, thanks, right? So I went to the front desk, and then I started getting like a little bit more into competitive room sales and selling packages and all that kind of stuff. And like, it was awesome. I loved it. And then I met Adam, which was Darius's father. And then, yeah, we were together for a couple of years, and then I got pregnant, and I was like, okay, we're having a baby now. It was just like boom, 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 just one thing after another, right? So, and yeah, I would have to say having Darius definitely changed a huge part of my life, big time. But even though having him in my life and having him, I still had old habits. Right. So I was still really indulging into drinking, all that kind of stuff. And like, I even hate to say this, but it's not like I would be doing it around my kid. But yeah, I was still involved into the party scene as well. Right. So it's like, hey, mom, can you watch Darius? Or, can you do this or whatever else? So we can go out on the weekend. Like, it was still like, that was just right. And yeah. And then Adam and I ended up splitting up after he was born, about a year after he was born. And then I was just a single mom for about, I'm going to say 2014. I think he fully came back in his life 2017. So, yeah. And then like actually half and half 2018. So I was on my own for quite a bit. Adam went through his own struggles and stuff like that, and with obviously substance abuse, and was in and out of rehab and stuff. And he cleaned up his life. Super proud of him in a lot of ways. He's an amazing father. But yeah, it was like being a single parent, having that pressure, still having bad habits, and just not really knowing who I was. Because I'd just been through like so much turmoil in my life, and growing up in chaos and dysfunction, and not having support. You know what I mean? Like, I just wasn't taught those basic fundamentals of life, I guess is the best thing to describe it. So then that's when I find that like that's when the huge healing started to really.
Did you have one thing that sparked that, or was it just like by yourself, or is it an event or something?
I started seeing my mom in me.
Oh,
and I love her. I love her so much. But I started to notice like, I would go out on the weekend and I would go and indulge and party and do this and whatever else. And then Sunday would come and I would just be useless. I just want to sleep all day and just like, and Darius would be like coming back to me or whatever else. And he would just be like, Mom, why are you sleeping all day? Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's really hard for me to even admit that, but I don't even give a shit because I'm just authentic and this is me and this is my story. But that's what was really breaking the camel's back there was like, I remember my mom doing that, like sleeping all day, not being present, being irritable, being like sad, emotional. Like I remember it so well. And I was like, I'm repeating it. I'm repeating exactly what I hated when I was a child. And my mom wasn't there for me or my brother, right? And I was like, I need to figure something out. I need to be better. And I just like, and there was many other things that made me feel that I hit rock bottom. Everyone has a different rock bottom though, right? Yeah. It's like somebody's worst pain could be another person's minor pain.
Oh yeah.
Like you could have someone that broke their leg, or you could have someone that had the baddest paper cut. You know what I mean? We can't really, we don't know what someone's worst is. But yeah, it was just really realizing the patterns within myself, the way I was headed, and also just like I felt like every time I made those bad decisions and was like out and partying and doing those type of things, it took a little piece of my soul every time. And I was just like, what am I doing? Like, I know I'm meant for more than this, right? And this was even a part of this was even when I was in car sales too, especially because I was making money and I was like, you know, Adam had Darius 50-50 and I was like, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to spend the shots for everybody doing this, going out every weekend. Like it was just like kind of went wild, right? Money makes us do some really different things. And then I just literally woke up one day, I would have to say in probably about 2018, 2019 is when I really started to change my life around. So pretty recent, honestly. I quit doing drugs. I took a break from drinking for quite some time because I felt that that was a huge piece of it, a huge gateway. I removed a lot of toxic friends. I prayed a lot, journaled a lot, meditated, started doing things that I didn't used to do before because I'm like, who am I?
That's exactly what I was going to ask. Like, through that process, did you have a moment where you questioned, where you realized that you were not who you thought you were?
Yes.
Yeah, which is a crazy thing to go through, right?
It was. Yeah. I was like, I literally, what I call it, reinventing yourself.
Yeah.
Rediscovering yourself. Yeah. I was suppressing my entire upbringing in life from 13 and on with substances, men, weekend warriors, and just toxicity. Because that's what I was used to, and that was comfortable. And that's what I was taught. And so I was like, when I really started doing some healing work, it was like, holy shit. Who is this person? And within that, and I say this about everything, and my friends, like even listening to this or people that I've talked to, solitude. That is when you really start to figure out who you are.
Oh, yeah.
Solitude. Being alone with yourself, being alone with your thoughts, not altering substances, not, you start doing things differently, you start seeing things differently. And is it uncomfortable? Fuck yes, it is. It is the most uncomfortable thing. But again, there's power in discomfort. There's power in being uncomfortable. It's just like unlocking the vault, right? So it just kept going from there. And then even with me, like, this is crazy. I used to be the person that would be up till 5 a.m. partying. Now I wake up at 4:30 a.m. to go to the gym. What the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? It was just like, and just even having that bit of just being like, wow, like that's outstanding. And the crazy part is that when I started to make these changes, other people started to notice too. They're like, Coral, like, you look so great and you're doing this. And like, I've noticed such big changes in you. And I was like, oh, wow. Like even people started to notice of like this transformation I was having. And just like, I'd finally woke up. Like I finally was awakening and unlocking who I truly was and who I truly am. And it's been a journey. It's been amazing. And I wouldn't change any of it. I wouldn't change any of it at all. And I do, and I've stated this lots, like I find some of the best teachers are the ones that have been through the trenches, right? So for me, I love everything that happened to me. I wouldn't take back anything because that's made me who I am. I wouldn't take back the things that my mom did or didn't do, or that my dad didn't do or did do. I wouldn't take back the choices I made. I wouldn't take back any of it because right now I get to relate to people on such a deeper level now too, because when they come into my office and they tell me their story or what they're struggling with, I can already relate to them. I had the eating disorder. I had the alcohol and drug problem. I had childhood neglect. I was the dropout. I've been the single mom. I've been the weekend warrior. I've had so many different walks of life that literally every single person that comes in here, I understand. I can relate to them on such a deeper level. And I feel like that's a whole other part of healing is just being heard, but also having someone that can relate to you. You're not alone. Right. Yeah. So, I love who I'm becoming. I love who I am. And I wouldn't take any of it away.
Yeah.
No regrets.
No, totally. And I mean, we can't change anyway things, right? So we better embrace and be actually grateful for what happened because it literally forged the thing. And on that same idea, you said something that today you're in good terms with your mom.
Yes, so I love my mom.
So how did you go through different phases of being like holding a grudge for things or never did? Like what was
so great question. I shouldn't say a very forgiving person, but because I am so understanding of the choices that people make, sometimes by being no fault of their own, but just like the choices that people make sometimes has nothing to personally do with me, which is why I forgive, right? So within my mom, like we didn't talk for probably a year and a half because I was like, I couldn't handle it anymore. Like it was, and then it got like her addiction got to like pills, and like we'd go out for a family dinner, and she'd be sitting there nodding out at the table. And I was just like, oh my God. So there was a point where it just hit rock bottom between her and I. And I was like, I do not want to be a part of your life anymore. I can't do it. Like I was trying to stay afloat and be a better person. I was like, I can't be a part of this anymore. I'm literally watching you kill yourself. And I removed her out of my life. It was the hardest thing I ever did. And she got clean. She got help. And it is all about forgiveness too, right? When she got clean and got that help, I knew that I could have her in my circle and in my energy again, but I just couldn't watch. I've been watching her do that to herself since I was like 8 years old, watching her slowly kill herself, right? And then I started to do it to myself, right? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So now within that, she's a great nana. We're constantly always doing stuff together. We're going on play dates, pedicures. You know what I mean? We're getting involved. I sent her and her boyfriend up, who's been a part of her life now for many, many years. I love him too, Gio. And I sent them up to Sparkling Hills for the weekend for her birthday. And it's like, we just have such a good relationship now. And we talk on the phone all the time, and she's present. And she always does say, like, she's very, very sorry for the way things were and stuff, right? So, but she always says, I'm your biggest fan. She always says to me, I'm your biggest fan, Coral. Like everything that I do, everything that I've built, she's just like, she's always cheering me on, right? So it's like she may have not have been there for a lot of it. But I try not to take it personally. Yeah. Because I know it was her own struggle. Like it was her own.
Do you think it's the main thing that made you, I was going to say accept, or like, what were the main thing that helped you forgive and accept the situation and accept your everything, that happened? Do you think it's because, I mean, it's definitely coming with the fact that you healed yourself and you did the work that helped you become more, because when we're more in tune with ourselves and more healed, it's way easier, I found, to let go of all the grudges that we can have and understand that 100%. People are doing things, like you were saying, it's never personal. It's always about the person.
And that's part of the 4 agreements too, right? It's like, don't take it personally. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I always say this, and I know it kind of seems weird, but like it's not weird, but like I don't know, just when I talk about it, some people are like, okay, but like prayer.
Yeah.
I pray every single night, and I've been praying since 2018. That's when I really started to like, and it's not like I go to church or anything like that, and like, you know, praise Jesus. Like I'm not like this huge God worshiper, but I prayed, and I prayed for my mom to get better. I prayed for forgiveness. I prayed to see the different perspectives. I just like prayed for healing, right, within that. And then yeah, just kind of understanding that, you know, whatever she did actually had nothing to do with me. Yes, it affected me, but like I find that generation, I've gotten in this topic a lot with people, especially being in this seat, because a lot of people right now want healing so bad, but it's interesting is that their parents never really had access to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like our parents, like, you know, let's say like 40 and above, like back in the day, if my mom were to cry, it was like she was weak. How
Yeah.
dare you?
Oh, yeah.
They would like, you know, what? Like therapy, counseling? You don't need that. All this other stuff, all these old beliefs. And like, I find what's so beautiful now is that everybody's like, no, it's okay to be vulnerable. No, I do need help. I'm not okay. I'm accountable that I need something to work on. Like, and we have so much access to that now.
Yeah,
like, and that's the beautiful thing apart. People are like, social media is evil. Nah. Well, no, it's not if you're using it for good. Do you know how many fucking quotes on Instagram have pulled me out of a mental rut? Something so silly, like something so
No,
small,
totally.
but like, but what do you follow? What's your environment? Like, where are you taking this information from to be better? And a lot of the time, my mom never had access to that kind of stuff. Do I blame her?
Yeah.
So that was another part of that forgiveness is being like, you never had the access to become better and to live a happy and fulfilling life. All she knew also was suppressing drugs and alcohol, trauma, abuse, neglect. Like, you know what I mean? Does
Yeah,
that make
yeah.
sense?
No,
So it was
totally.
like
100%.
understanding that perspective is really awakening as well. So
Yeah.
that was another form of how I was able to forgive her in that sense, you know, and have a good relationship with her.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. If that answers your question.
Yeah. No, totally. In a lot of ways, being able to change your perspective and go into the perspective of that other person that did something to you, very often it's way easier to understand, because people always do what they can, right? We have to assume that people do the best they can and with their capacity and where they're at, and even though we get like caught up in some things, it's never really personal. Like people, it's very rare that like they personally want to you as a person hurt you. It's like when you hurt somebody, it's because you're hurt inside. You're hurting
100%
inside as
mirroring,
well, and you're
projecting.
just trying to exactly. It's so the changement of perspective. Yeah, it's a good one for sure.
Yeah. So it's just, again, I always break it down to the analogy of like a pie. It's just a piece of the pie perspective.
Yeah.
Like there's so many different pieces that make us understand how we work as human and being human being and having that patience and perseverance and just like breaking through old beliefs. Like, yeah, I had, and basically with RTT, like that's what I focus on is with people is it's all beliefs. It's all these beliefs. Like when I do a session and I regress that person, like it comes down to this belief that they had, whether it was from a teacher or a parent or a spouse or a partner, or it doesn't matter. It's just like embedded in their head. And then that's what takes that turn for the worse, right? So it's understanding how the human brain works as well, right? So, yeah.
Totally. So do you do mainly so let's get into what you do here. Do you know so the first thing you do is because of the it has to do with brain waves also, right? The hypno therapy.
Subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and
like, you
technically I
get
guess
into-
brainwaves as well in a sense. Yeah, so it's getting to the root cause of what is causing this disruption in your life. So, you know, a lot of people are like, "Okay, I have anxiety." They go to a therapist, they go to a counselor, they do breath work. Those are all great things and they may work, and they're tools to keep that anxiety at bay, but that anxiety will always kind of creep up again, and then they gotta what RTT is taking that anxiety away completely, gone, deleted out of the system. So I'll kind of state an example. I had a girl in here, she was living with anxiety for 30 years. It stemmed from something that happened to her when she was 4 years old. So I use a form of hypnosis to bring them into a completely relaxed state. So it's very different than hypnotherapy. It's not hypnotherapy. I'm just using hypnosis to access their subconscious mind, even though I am a certified RTT therapist and I'm also a certified hypnotherapist. I bring them into a place, a time, an event where this anxiety started. With her, it was when she was 4 years old. 3 different scenes came up, 4, 6, and then I think 7. And so when those scenes came up, I have to help them make the connection. I'm just a tool and a guide. They're telling me, I'm just guiding them. And I have different tools and strategic ways to make them realize what the connection is. So once we figure out that connection, like most of the people that figure out their connection to it, they're like, like just acknowledging it has so much power. So, and in order to change it, we have to acknowledge it. So a lot of these memories are in the subconscious mind, are suppressed memories that they didn't even have in their conscious mind, right? So, and a lot of our memories in our subconscious mind shows up in our actions of life right now, right? So it's interesting. We're living consciously, but all of our subconscious memories are actually is what's driving us, if that makes sense. Yeah. So we get to the root cause, we figure that out, we make the connection, and then I have different tools to show them how to heal it. So whether it's healing the inner child, whether it's making amends with the herter, whoever hurt them, whatever, and understanding why they did that. Like there's a lot of, I couldn't even explain it to you because it wouldn't even make sense, but there's a lot of tools within that to actually heal it. And then we make the connection, heal it, and then we delete it out of the psyche. So it's not that the memories are completely gone. They just don't affect you anymore. It's just like there's no reaction to them anymore, and it's not connected to your anxiety anymore. And then I do a transformation, which basically is installing new beliefs. So hard drive on a computer system, been around for 30 years, old software, bogging down, dial up, old shit on there, pictures, whatever. It's not running efficiently, effectively. I take all that software off that computer, take it off. That's my analogy for the human brain. And then we install new beliefs. We got to put new software on there. We got to update it. We got to get it to Windows 13 or whatever. You know what I mean? So that's the transformation. That's installing the new beliefs. So we do that still under hypnosis. So still in a deep, relaxed state of mind. And then that recording, which is the end part of their session, they listen to that for 21 days. And morning, night, or noon. And they go anywhere from 8 to 15 minutes. So everybody can make that time. And I still have people, like I have clients that I did months ago, and they're like, I'm still listening to your recording because I love it. It makes me feel so good. And it's not like me, like the recording is so much more than me speaking and telling them new beliefs. It's actually their words. So a part of their intake that I do, I say, what would your life look like without this anxiety? And they paint me the picture. And then I just use my voice to guide them. and paint that picture for them. And that's what the transformation is.
Right.
So it's neuroplasticity, it's talk therapy, it's repetition, it's words of affirmation, it's all of it, right?
So they visualize also the life like they want to.
Exactly. And that's that. And they tell me what they want. They tell me what they want to see, how they feel, what they feel in their body, what they see, how they perform at work, whatever else. Right. And I mean, I work with everything. I work with anxiety, procrastination, infertility, like people not being able to have babies. Right. It's all a mental block. Right. So, vaping, smoking, binge eating, eating disorders, even performance. Even if somebody just wants better performance in like an exam or a race or sports or anything like that, I can do just recordings for them, right? So it's just rewiring of the mind. And that's what makes RTT so powerful, is that it's so different from hypnotherapy. It's so different from any other therapy out there, and it fucking works. And I had done a couple of sessions when I was just getting into school, like when I was just getting into it, and I did a couple of sessions. I did one on fear of heights and procrastination. Don't even procrastinate anymore. And my fear of heights, gone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, completely gone. Like, it's crazy. It works so good. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. And then not to mention, I get so much feedback. People are just like, oh my God, I feel so good. Like this and that, this and that, this has changed. And they're bringing their family and they're bringing their friends and they're like buying them sessions. And like, I'm like, wow, like and then I help people all around the world too. So it's not even just in my little office on 30th, it's on Zoom. So I'm helping people all around the world, Northwest Territories, Edmonton, Vancouver, like everywhere. It's amazing. And it works very, very well. I love it.
That's cool.
I love it so much. I'm so passionate about it. I could go on about it forever. Seriously, I'm like, oh my God, I love it. I get really, really into that. So.
What is the, I don't know if you can tell, but what is the craziest change you've had in someone so far in your own experience? The biggest one you
okay, so the one that popped into my head, there's lots. There's lots. And like I have like since I started, I have like a journal. I don't talk about anybody's names or anything like that, but I just talk about like the changes that I'm seeing in people. Of course, everything's confidential, right? But I would have to say there's one girl, and she doesn't even care if I've shared her stuff on social media. She talks me up to the moon. And it was also based on that anxiety, that example I just told you. So her anxiety was limiting her from starting her business. It was limiting her from being social. It was limiting her, and it just kept getting stronger and stronger. It's just like a wound. We got a wound on our arm. If you don't start taking care of it, putting some ointment on that or whatever, it's just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse, right? And that's what the anxiety became. It became in charge of her life. She had no control anymore. It was completely taken over. So we did that session. She's still to this day listening to my recording. The regression was absolutely revolutionary. Like, it was amazing, like what came up. And now she just like started her own business. And it was in her recording. I'm like, what would it be like if you didn't have your anxiety? What would be this? I would start my business. I've always wanted to start it up, and I'd be doing this, and I'd be like a better mom, and I'd be present, and I'd be getting out more. And she's doing all of the things. Like, she's doing all of it. Like she's literally living her dream life right now. And she literally wrote me publicly and was like, I don't know what I would have done without you. Like, and I was like, that is so amazing to me. Not that I had everything to do with it. She was brave enough to come in here. She was brave enough to trust me with that. She actually did the work. Yeah. I was just a guide. I was just a tool. And she did the work, and now her life is completely changed, and she's out there and she's putting herself out there, and she's got her sparkle back. and she's opening up a studio for her hair lounge, and like just all this stuff is just manifesting into her life, and it was all holding her back just from anxiety, just from a limiting belief of when she was so young. She's in her 30s. And she's been in therapy and counseling, and I'm not knocking therapy and counseling. It is absolutely amazing. It has helped me so much. But she just couldn't get to the root of what was fucking causing it. Where did it come from? Right? So it's I would have to say that's the one of the biggest success stories as of right now. But there's lots, but that one's a big one, and I'm really proud of her.
Yeah. How does it make you feel to be? Because you were feeling like you wanted to be more a service. Like, is this something that, I mean, more at the service of people? Like, is it something that, like, fulfills you more than anything else you've done? I guess
100%. I have like so much gratitude. Like every time someone books with me, I'm like, just gonna say a random name. Thank you so much, Jim, for booking with me. I tell them thank you so much for booking with me. And I also give thanks. Like, I'm like, I hope Jim gets exactly what he needs out of this session. I hope we get to the root cause. I hope that he has like the most revolutionary, like, transformation. You know what I mean? So like, I give so much gratitude to the booking, to the experience. And then also I give so much gratitude for when I do a follow-up a week later and they're like, yeah, like I feel great. And of course there's things that happen to us. Like they're like, oh yeah, well, you know, this happened. And I'm like, okay, well, life's still going to happen. That's out of your control. But where's your anxiety? Gone. Okay. Have you bit your nails since the session? No, I do nail biting sessions. People biting their nails. Yeah. Oh yeah. Compulsive disorders, like, or obsessive, right? Like plucking out the eyelashes or the hair and all that kind of stuff. Like I do all that kind of stuff, right? And they're like, nope, haven't touched it since. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I'm just like, yes. Like, and then I give gratitude within that. And I'm like, thank you so much. And I literally look up to the sky. I'm like, thank you so much. Like, this is so amazing. I love spreading this love. And every time I do it, new ideas come to me, new things, and it just starts to flow. Yeah. It just flows. It's just such, I was walking my dog the other day. Well, I walk him every day. This is a lot of energy. But a week ago, I said to myself, this is abundance. This is true abundance. It's not about money. It's not about the clothes you wear. It's not about the car you drive. It's not. Abundance is making the world a better place, giving back to people, giving back to people that need it the most, or just, you know what I mean? Like, just like, to me, that is like that's true abundance. And I finally understood it. I'm like, it has nothing to do with finances or anything like that. It's like just being of service to others. And I absolutely love it. And I love when people come into my office and they feel warm and cozy and that they can be themselves. Even randomly, I'll just be like getting my nails done and just like talking to my nail guy over at Emma's, and there'll be someone sitting beside me and just telling me their life story. And they're like, I have no idea why I'm even telling you all this stuff right now. And I'm like, I know. I'm like, here's my card. You know what I mean? And they're like, okay. And then I'll get and it's just timing. It's just the timing and just like vibrating on that high level and just, you know, so it's, I can't, like, I have so much gratitude within that. And I feel like the richest and luckiest girl in the world right now. That's nice. And I manifested even being on this podcast. So I'm like, that's so cool. Like,
yeah, that's so funny because we literally met on, we met at Studio B when
you did your documentary.
But then at the gym. And I saw, and it probably was maybe like, honestly, like a day or two before, I saw a post of you. And this is when I was like, because the thing is like with that kind of thing, you're always like reaching out to people and trying to
get that momentum too.
And especially right now, I don't really, it's just like, because this is the principle is that I think everybody has like interesting things to say because we all have a different experience, right? So we can all have So I don't really necessarily completely care about who it is. I just want, you know, people and
But
give
it
room.
comes to you.
But but then when I mean, it's not that I don't care who it is, but I like to have also like people who have like specific things. And so I
Yeah.
saw a post of you and I was like, oh, that would actually be good, because it was like when you were saying that you started to do this and stuff. And then literally a few days after, I saw you at the
know,
gym,
and
and I
I
was
seen
like,
you at
okay.
the gym.
And I told him,
Oh, yeah.
because it was in the back of my head, okay.
Yeah.
And then
But
I had
that's
to
how
reschedule one, and I was like, okay, let's just message
But
her.
that's
this
how
is
the universe works.
Exactly, yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
it works right
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
Right? So anyone that's listening to this, like, pay attention.
Set your intention.
100%. Yeah, totally.
It's how would you, what kind of like advice or what would you say if you would right now face your 15 years old you?
What would I say or what would I do?
Both. No. What if right now, today, you, where you are right now, you would meet and see your 15 years old self, that doesn't know everything is going to happen and that is in her situation? What kind of stuff would you say to maybe like help with the direction, that would help with how she would feel?
Yeah.
Stuff that could work to other people that would be in the same situation that you were.
For sure. Like, if I look back at my 15-year-old self, for one, I would just say it always is prominent to me, trust the process. But I wouldn't be like, do this differently or do this, or like make sure your credit's good, and like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things that way, but I wouldn't change anything. But for other people that are in that state of their life where they're just like, what am I doing? Why am I so sad? What is my purpose? What direction do I go in? Like, whatever it is just like, oh, there's a lot. But I would say your first thing is accountability. What is it that you're doing you don't like, but you keep doing it? What can you do to replace that? So is it going out? Is it partying with friends? Is it doing this? Is it doing that? What can you do differently? Now, it's going to be hard. What can you do differently? What can you change? You know, and within that comes solitude. That's the next one, right? And when you're in solitude, then you start paying attention to your intuition. You start paying attention to that voice, because you can't hear that voice in a room that has a concert going on. And the concert is the chatter, it's the noise, it's the repetition, the patterns, the toxicity, the people, the environments, noise. I mean, concerts are fun, but you know what I mean? The analogy there, it's you can't pay attention when there's too much noise. So solitude, and then just really stepping, and I say this a lot, stepping out of your comfort zone. Okay, you wanted to join a gym, whatever the case may be. Like, okay, you're scared to join a gym. You don't know what you're doing, all that kind of stuff, whatever the case may be. Just go. Just go. You want to do it. You want to change. You want to step away from doing the nonsense on the weekend. Just go. Right? You know what I mean? Just get that leap of faith and just go. And then it's amazing. You might even meet someone there that's like really great. And it's like, oh, I'll teach you a bunch of stuff. And you're like, okay, like there's stuff you can look up on the internet. There's, you know, if you're scared of like starting that business, or say you're unhappy at your job, like, and you've been really thinking about getting that business started up, like start looking up things on the internet. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like just planting that seed of like change. Plant that seed. You don't need to know where it's going to take you. You don't need to know any of that. Just plant the seed. It's like, I like to call it like almost like a GPS map. You want to get to California. Okay, cool. Do you know every fucking turn and detour and every single thing you need to do to get to California? No, you don't. You know, you want to get to California. First step, get in the car.
Yeah.
Turn it on. Start driving. Okay, now use your GPS. Okay, you got to get gas. You know what I mean? Just start. Don't limit yourself and think, "Oh, I can't do that. Somebody else is doing that. Oh, I don't know how to do that." Just all these limiting beliefs. Just do it. You know what I mean? Just get in the car and start driving. Plant the seed. And don't think about the outcome. Don't think about anything like that. And that's the whole point of like being present. Just living in the now, not letting the past define you, and not letting your future control you. Just be present.
Yeah.
So I would have to say that's my best advice. And like that's like in a short, like condensed form, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Totally.
So
yeah. Yeah, the present moment is important, because the thing is like what you're saying, taking one first step. I mean, we get like anxiety comes from suddenly in your mind, you're going to be able to visualize the next like freaking year of work, or the amount of stuff you have to do, you have to achieve in like a long period of time. But you can comprehend it in right in one moment. But the body we can't do everything, but the mind can visualize the whole thing. And this is why it's important to just do like the first little step, because that's all we can do. But the mind can go everywhere and
then you got the past limiting you. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like, holy fuck, which way do you go, right? But it's just like, that's my best advice, big time.
What would you say? Because you said also before that you said trust the process. It's something that we hear all the time and everywhere, and in a lot of different. I think because it's something in the fitness industry. Same thing is like trust the process. Like you hear trust the process everywhere. For you, what does it mean in if you would like describe that in other words? Because some people can like trust the process. Like what is it? Like is it patience? Is it
totally? Again, I always say it's like that pie, right? Like this, like trust the process is the pie, but there's different pieces of it. So trusting the process to me is just, you don't have to have it all figured out.
Oh, okay.
You know, you don't have to have it all figured out. Trust the process of getting there, the process of just moving forward, one foot in front of the other. A lot of people, I could say a couple examples right now because it's kind of hard to put in words. The rental crisis that we were having, or not the rental crisis we're having right now. Yeah. But there was a couple of years ago, my place went up for sale, sorry. And I was renting it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I was like, oh crap, like I'm going to have to move. And it was like, there was like people living in hotels, like it was not good. And when that happened, instead of me freaking out, reacting, and I had people around me like, what are you going to do, Coral? Where are you going to live? You and Darius. Oh my God. Even my mom, I was like, chill the fuck out. Yeah. And there was like getting me going, right? Getting me riled up. And I was like, hey guys, it is contagious. Everything's contagious. Only if you let it. So I just said, everything's going to be fine. I'm either going to find a beautiful home with a nice yard. It's going to work out for me. I know for a fact I'm a good person. I know what I put out into the universe, I get back. And that's like, I'm very selfless, but I know that I'm a good person. I have good karma. And if you know that you are a good person and you give back and you care for others and you love for others and you just spread love, and I don't say that to be like, spread love to the world, like, tree hugger kind of thing. But I'm just saying, like, if you really know that you're a good person, things will work out for you. Trust the process. So everyone's freaking out. And I'm like, no. And if I have to move, I'll find a beautiful place. And if I get to stay, someone will end up buying it. And they'll say, we'd love for you to stay and be a renter. I just trusted it. Because you worrying about it is going to set off a vibration of shit going down. Oh, yeah. You are literally going to create it, because we create, and this is, again, I'm getting into this kind of stuff, which goes really deep into manifestation and power of thought and law of attraction, but we create our reality. And a lot of people don't believe that. And the reason why they don't believe that is because they're not creating their reality because they don't believe it. And then they wonder why things are not going their way because they already have a belief system that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I just trusted it. I was like, no, everything's going to work out. And I just went with the flow, all that kind of stuff. My landlord came back to me. She goes, and there was tons of viewings. There was tons. Like, there was like, my house looked like a freaking show home. I've never seen my house look that clean in forever. I was like, it was gorgeous. I'm like, yeah, like, of course my place is clean, but I had to keep it pristine because I had so many people. Somebody ended up buying it from Vancouver and they said, we would love for you to stay. We're not raising your rent. It's still the same. Everything's gravy. And I was like, wow, trust the process. Like, it was just, you just got to trust. And like, and even like, we worry about our jobs and all of a sudden we let our jobs define us and we get fired or let go. It's like, trust the process because there is something better for you around the corner. You don't believe it though. Start believing it. Start creating it. And that's a part of trusting the process as well. It's just like going to the gym too, right? Yeah, you want those abs and you want this and you want that. Trust the process. You're going to have to wake up every morning at 5 a.m. or go every day after work and not make up excuses and eat healthy. It's like, that's what trust the process is. And it's not even just sitting there on your ass on the couch and waiting for things to happen. It's just knowing that you deserve better, knowing that there's a silver lining, and knowing that whatever you want, you can have and it will be presented to you, right? So that's what trust the process to me really means.
Interesting. Do you know the human consciousness chart from the book? I think it's Power versus Strength. It's a guy. His name is Dr. Hawkins. I think Richard Hawkins.
No.
That chart from it's the vibration of humans' emotions, right? Where you have you have the first half, it's everything that is fear based, and then the second half is love based, and you have everything from shame, guilt, apathy, anger, and like the line in the middle, it's courage, where it's the mix of fear and love, where like you're still scared, but
that's
like,
trust. That's where trust the process is.
Yeah,
is the courage.
And
you know what I mean?
And then the courage is so interesting because it's the mix of these two things, right? It's like you still have the fear, but you're either like at rock bottom and you have enough, or either you want really hard to have like that other thing, and you pull and you're just on that line of like
100%. Do you feel that that's where the trust the process is in that line of having that courage to trust, even though, and
it's
that's
the start of it to me. Is
100%, because it's like I've been in so many situations where I felt like everything was falling apart, and it actually wasn't. It was falling into place. And it was like when you're surrounded by a burning field and you're in the middle, you're just like, what the frick? How am I going to get out of here? Right? Like whether it's like money blocks or self-sabotage or whatever the case may be. Like there's been so many times I've been like, oh, like car sales, when I was talking about earlier on, like I was in car sales and I'd be like, oh, I'm having such a shitty month. No, I'm not. I'm not having a crappy month. I'm going to have a good month. Yada, yada, yada. Changing that mindset. Yeah. And then all of a sudden people be like, I want to buy a car off you. Like chasing me to buy a car. Right. And it's just like my surroundings were so like eerie and uncomfortable, and they weren't looking like there was going to be a lot of sales. But it was changing that mindset and just trusting the process and believing that you deserve it. And I feel like that's that level of that courage of knowing that you deserve, and then going off to that other side of that chart. I've never even seen this chart you're talking about. I love it.
To you, 'cause
I feel like I already kind of know.
100%. I have a good one.
You know?
I'll send it to you. But you can look. But and then the thing that I found is that it gets easier once you've experienced and once you've, once you've had like it's easier to, it's like faith in that kind of thing and in the universe and everything. It's like,
Yeah.
it's a spiral, right? Because when you really don't think about all these things and you're like, you think it's bullshit and like, oh no, like if, and you react to everything that happens to you and you stay in a negative mindset, it's very hard to then develop the faith. But when you do it once and then suddenly things happen and you start getting on the flow, and then it's easier for then doing all sorts of things and reconversion and like for career and stuff, because people are getting stuck in a situation that they don't like anymore, but they're just fear, how am I going to do something else?
And someone else is doing it better and it's going to be so much work. It's like plant the seed, that's all you have to do. Just get the seed, plant it, put it in the dirt and just, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's an environment. I've been talking about environment a lot on Instagram lately because I find that our environment, like, you know, a beautiful like analogy I came up with is no matter what you give a flower, if you put it in a dark room, it won't survive. So what's your environment? What kind of environment are you in? Are you in an environment to thrive or are you not? And that's another really great thing that I feel that is so powerful. And like how you speak, like there's words in my vocabulary, words that I do not speak in my vocabulary, I never say, even when I started this business, and it was like, I had to pay a lot of money to get this started and do all that kind of stuff. It costs a lot of money. But like, I never used the word broke. I never used the word bills. I never used any word that was a negative vibe word of lack or anything like that ever. And again, that's like not only just your environment, but like your verbiage. If you're so upset that you're always broke, they say, or unhappy, and you're at this job you don't like, and you just keep saying that, that's all that's going to come to you. Yeah. That's all. That's what you just keep saying it and setting off that vibration. No wonder you have fear of like moving to the next level and doing this and doing that, because it's even in your vocabulary. It's what you say, it's what you do, and it's what you surround yourself with. Right. So it's, it's super, super powerful to, like even when I get a bill in the mail, this is the little thing I actually want to talk about on my Instagram. When I get a bill in the mail and it's BC Hydro and it's like 200 and something bucks, I'm like, I am so grateful for this bill. I don't even actually even say this bill. I'm so grateful that I got this because I have power and I get to have a hot shower and I get to charge my phone, which is my lifeline, and I use everything for. I get to watch a little bit of TV. I get to listen to music. I get to cook. I love that I have BC Hydro. My phone bill comes in. I don't like, oh, bill. No, I use that phone to connect with everybody. I use that phone to network. I use that phone for my business. I use that to talk to my loved ones. Like, we need to start giving gratitude to everything and how we speak to everything. And that's when really huge shifts will start to really change. You know what I mean? You'll move to that 100%. Next level on the chart, like you were saying, right? Instead of living in that, oh, another bill, oh, this, oh, that. You know what I mean? You just start to lap it up and it starts to become you.
100%.
You know what I mean? I know that's getting really deep, but
no.
I like getting deep.
I think it's a tragedy that people wait to, I mean, even to push that deeper with just like life, generally speaking, we often just realize how life is fragile and when we face death, also when like you have somebody from your family or yourself, you suddenly, maybe you get sick and you know that like maybe it's gonna end for you in 6 months or whatever. I think it's very bad that we're so caught up into today's like modern world that we forget literally like the how just crazy it is that you can, I don't know, like get in a lake, breathe, have a good, like in just the experience and the but without even, well, you can like express like the gratitude for it, but not even like say it and say the prayer, but just like feel and experience it. Like it's something that like it's, to me it's an absolute tragedy that like people are not more using that, and we're all waiting that some dramatic shit happened so that suddenly we have to leave and we have to do things and we have to be do it before Because in any way we know we're gonna die, but we forget it, and so then we get caught up in like the dumbest shit and just like
I know.
it's,
And like worrying about like nonsense. Like, of
Yeah.
course it's things like, yeah, we do have to pay our hydro. We do have to pay our phone bills. Yes, I understand that. But like, why are we using so much energy and like thinking about it and like obsessing about it? Like, for instance, I've focused so much on being present. Like, I love Jay Shetty. I just want to give a shout out for him. I love him so much. He is like my mentor. He is my idol. And he has talked about being present so much lately. And I absolutely love it. Like, when I go and walk my dog, I would just go walk my dog. Okay, I gotta go walk my dog. I gotta get this done before work. But now I'm just like, okay, giving myself that extra 10 minutes. Walking. I go outside. I feel the cool breeze on my face. I'm like, oh, this feels so nice. The fresh air.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, look at him. He's so happy. Okay, he wants me to throw his ball. Okay, someone drives by. Ooh, they don't look happy. Okay, they're smiling at me. I smile at them back. Connection.
Yeah.
I get to the park. I like see the grass. I see the trees blowing. I like look up in the sky. I'm like, it's raining, but I like it because it's hitting my face. And I'm like, this is refreshing. Or maybe it's sunshine. Or maybe it's just like, you know what I mean? Just being present. Like, you know what I mean? We're just in a rush with everything all the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like on a deeper
100%.
level. And it's just like the gratitude. Like, I walk my dog and I'm like, I'm so grateful that I'm able to go and walk my dog and take him to the park. A lot of people are in wheelchairs, can't walk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people that don't even have that ability to do that. And it's just like, we're missing the big picture.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people are not. A lot of people are awakening. We were talking about that word earlier, like just being not woke, awakening in life. And yeah, there's a lot to observe and be grateful for and to actually see. You know what I mean? Like even Jay Shetty is saying, like, even on your drive to work or wherever you're going, take a different route. Go a different way. What do you notice? What do you see? What do you observe? Like, what's different about it? You know, and it's just being present.
Yeah. That's quitting the autopilot mode that we're in.
Autopilot.
This
Exactly.
is why also trying new things and doing new things. It's extremely important, and especially when you get like adults, because then, you know, you're like you were saying, your brain is rooted in a certain way. And then you get up and you look back at the 5 past years and you've been living the exact same week in and out. And like you're just like you're missing, I don't know, it's just you really need to wake up to the fact that all you have is the present moment, and that you're always able to change little things to just make you, to change how you feel, and to make that experience something a little more fulfilling. Because
that's what life's about.
Because we know
what it's about.
It's gonna end, right? Like just I like to see my life from like point A to point B. Like point A, I was born, and point B, I'm gonna die, and I'm in the middle of that. And in any way, we're walking dead people. It's weird to say this, but like every day, where it's not like you're leaving and you don't think about things, and then one day we're out of here. It's like every day we're going toward that thing, and so how do you just, you know, you're worrying about things, but in any way, like you're here to make the best out of it. Like what can you do to make things enjoyable, to change, to try to be curious about things, to stop for a moment and discover something new.
And that's what life's about.
Exactly.
And we're missing it.
It's because today's society is really based on fear and on like, I mean, then you get into a lot of like conspiracy and things, but it's just
endless. Like but like, I don't even watch the news.
No, yeah, oh yeah.
I don't even watch news. I don't read the paper. I'm like, nope, I don't even care. And everyone's like, well, that's kind of ignorant. Don't you want to know what's going on in the world? And I'm like, honestly, I just want to know what's going on in my world. Yeah. I feel sorry for the countries. I feel sorry for Russia. Yes, I hear what's happening and I literally pray, but no, I'm not letting that take all my energy. I need to focus on what I need to focus on. God bless you. I'm sorry this is happening, but no, I don't indulge in any negative talk. Even when people start saying politics, I'm just like,
oh yeah. like politics is just a scam to separate and to make people fight into things.
Oh, totally.
But toward the news, I have something that's because all the news, it's like everything that's bad that happened, right? Like all the dramatic events,
barely
right,
any
right,
good.
right, that thing. But the thing is that that's what we see. But in the world, okay, maybe you had like today somebody murdered somebody else, like for sure, and so that's what you're gonna see. But how many people on the 7 billion people we are? How many people today did a good thing, helped, saved a life? Smile to somebody.
I know.
Maybe it matches.
That's the shit I want to read.
100 times, 1,000 times that one dramatic thing that happened,
Yeah.
but we don't see it because we want the drama, we want the conflict, we want the bad thing that happened. But it's yes, it is. Everything is balanced. The amount of bad that there's the same amount of good. We just don't talk and don't see the good. But it's the same thing. We just see this. So yeah, it's normal that it's gonna make you fear, and then like you want to have to be protective to everything, and then you don't do anything because like you're gonna have one step outside and you're gonna be murdered, or
I
you're
know,
gonna do this
and then you just more fear, right? Like it's just like, I know. I've seen some people at the gym the other day, and I'm like, I'm bumping to tunes, I'm listening to podcasts, like I'm just like high energy, and they're on the treadmill and they're watching the news, and I'm like. And they have headphones on too, and I'm like, what? I was just like, I didn't understand. I was like, this is so weird. For me, it's like, I might as well just go buy a bag of McDonald's and go on the elliptical and eat the McDonald's. Like I found it was so counterproductive. Whatever we're putting into our body or whatever we're putting in our mind, it's still diet.
Oh, 100%.
It's still, I shouldn't say diet because I don't even use that word either, but it's still a way of eating and a way of polluting.
Yeah.
And what are you listening to? What are you putting into your body? What actually is your diet, right?
100%.
Everything, right?
Yeah.
It's environment, it's all of it. But yeah, that would be a total other topic I could get really, really deep into big time. So, but yeah. I'm only about the positivity, right? So, yeah, big time. Yeah, you could get deep into that topic.
No, totally.
Yeah.
But the environment is very interesting,
crucial.
And what I like about the environment, it's not only how it can help you strive when you get into a new thing, and like it makes you adapt, and like it's the you're suddenly discomfort, like right, you're in the discomfort because when you arrive in a new environment that you don't know, you have to adapt. So that's one thing. But what I really like about is how it opens your mind, and I see that in my case where I came in a new country, so you discovered a new culture.
How scary was that for you, right?
It was scary, but what I like the most, not the adaptation part, but how it opens your mind, because you were in an environment where you're the same as everybody, right? And everything is normal, and you're in your routine, and then you do your thing day in, day out, and you see the people and they have the same culture, then you talk the same language, and it's like and you can go all about your life and die with the same mentality, the same thing, the same mindset, the same opinion on everything. Or then suddenly you can take yourself and you go somewhere where now you're the black sheep, right?
Oh yeah, you're straying away from the pack. I love being that person that's doing everything fucking different.
And then you witness people that are doing things that are normal for them, but for you it's different. And so witnessing that, like, oh, so this is weird, but that's normal for them. So that means what I think is normal, that's weird for other people. So is it because I am right and this is like the normal way? Or is it because there's no normal way, and it depends on how you grew up and what you encountered and your experience and your parents and your country and everything shaped a way, but not the right way.
Yeah.
And really seeing this, it's something that opens your mind, and it helps you with all that thing of like positivity and let go and accepting things and going with the flow of things, understanding that you're the way you think, what you do, it's all about the experience you had, and somebody's going to have another experience and do something else, and we don't have the same normal, but we can accept and flow together. But I really like that aspect of that opens your mind, because it makes you see different perspectives that are normal for you. And that wasn't normal for me but I see that it's normal for you and the way you're doing it. And so that opens,
yeah.
shit.
And
Like,
then it's so funny too, because I always say, what the fuck is normal?
yeah.
What is normal?
Yeah.
And I was like, what is the normal setting on a dryer? What is it? What does it do?
Yeah.
I know time dry. I know heavy load. I know delicates or quick wash. What is normal?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
right? There is no normal anymore.
No.
Just like, yeah, just.
And even the normal.
The normal
if
can
you
just
would
be your
qualify
normal.
something normal, it's been made up by the system, by a society, by an ideology of things. But there's plenty of different things. This is why, like you were talking about, I mean, we're not going to talk about politics, but I truly believe that today's politics is it's a scam. It's just like conflict based between two sides, and we're not trying to find harmony and to use the best of each world to create something that where actually you have like 70 or 80% of the people that are for it instead of like 51% over 49%. But anyway, it's just a conflict. It's just a conflict to see who's got the best ideas. The problem is like we have to understand that we all have ideas that are shaped from our experience.
I know, yeah.
And you're just like too attached to things that's going to prevent to find a way to, as a society, lives with the most harmony. Like it comes with accepting that people have different opinion, and how do we use both of our opinion to make a compromise and find harmony into something that is fine for the both of us, with making compromises and not like fighting to see who has the best. I got 51% of I got the majority, so we're gonna do what I think.
Yeah,
it's
know.
Like it's such a
which is why I don't follow it.
Yeah.
People talk about it, and I'm like, no, it's go sports.
Yeah, it's just
I know nothing, and I don't want to know. But I don't even want to know.
Yeah, it's
I know a bit, but I'm just like, man.
It's distraction, right?
Well, I would rather focus my energy on other things.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Than that, right? So it's
for sure.
But yeah,
that's
my story.
Yeah, that was good. I think what time it is? Yeah, I think we're
I'll just say where you can find me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so
I'll tag you on the thing, and anyway, and I'll put your website and stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, you can say a few
words about that now.
Outro, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so basically anyone that is wanting RTT or to experience it, like I said, whether it was like anxiety, procrastination, infertility, addiction, alcoholism, vaping, smoking, fear of heights, flights, compulsive disorders, doesn't matter. I help people all over the world, Zoom. And then, of course, I have my lovely office on 30th that I can help others too that are in the Vernon local area. And, of course, you can find me on Instagram, Coral Reef. It's CORALWREEF. Haven't changed it yet. I love it. That's my OG Instagram name. And also on TikTok, Coral Reef, CORALWREEF. And of course, Facebook, Coral Winfrey. Yeah. So,
thank you.
Yeah. And if anyone has any questions or anything, please reach out. And I'd love to hear from you, or just talk about RTT. I love talking about it and giving information and just seeing if it's right for you. Right. So, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I appreciate
you're
it.
welcome.
Love
Thanks
it. My first podcast.
Your first podcast, manifestation.
That's what I always say.
The universe used me to fulfill your manifestation.
Yeah, and then I saw you at the gym. I'm like, okay, this is going down. Yeah.
That's so funny.
And we got to do it in my office space, which I thought was really cool too. So.
No, 100%.
Yeah. Good. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Wrap it up.